Well, I see it is time to start, so I'll do a brief introduction and then we'll get on with the presentation. So hello and welcome to today's presentation by the Engineer Research and Development Center, or ERDC. My name is Paul Krawitz and I'm the director of the NSM Career Success Center. And I'll be hosting along with Tisha Shaboni, our Assistant Director for Employer Relations in the School of NSM. You will soon learn that the vision of ERDC is to be a world-class research and development partner, delivering solutions not otherwise possible. But that doesn't happen without amazing talent and STEM-trained personnel like you, who often get recruited via internships, fellowships, and early career recruiting programs. We are grateful to Yvette Pearson, our Associate Dean, for connecting us to our speaker today, Skylar Montgomery from ERDC. Skylar will tell you more about her background, but she's a mathematician, computer scientist by training, who now serves as the manager of talent acquisition for ERDC, where she is responsible for STEM outreach, student programs, recruiting, and new hire integration. There will be a question and answer session at the end of the presentation. Skylar, welcome, and we sincerely appreciate you joining us today and informing UT Dallas students about your wonderful programs and opportunities.
Great. Thank you for the introduction and thank you for having me today. I enjoy sharing about ERDC and our student programs, especially to students. In fact, I just got off of another call sharing our ERDC student programs with them. So let's see. So a little bit about me. So I am Spila Montgomery. I work here at ERDC. We are located in Vicksburg, Mississippi. I work in our headquarters building. My background is in math and computer science. So I started working here at ERDC as a student. I came here as a student my freshman year in college and I never left. So I've worked in several different capacities. I was a contractor for a few years when there was a hiring freeze. And then once that was lifted, they hired me as a mathematician. I was in our geotechnical and structures laboratory. So I did a lot of research and basically survivability engineering. We did a lot of work for the warfighter military engineering programs. Did work, a lot of things that I did were creating and developing decision support tools for soldiers and for non-engineers, so that were in the military. So I also, in addition to being a researcher, became a branch chief. So I've been a supervisor, and when I was a branch chief, I moved over to our information technology laboratory, and I was the chief of the scientific software branch, and I did that for about 5 years. And then, while I was a branch chief, I just my passion, I just learned my passion was really with people, helping recruit, bringing in students. As a branch chief, I brought in a lot of students. I think my branch typically had the most students each summer working with us because I felt like that's the absolute best way to recruit employees. Students get to learn about us, who we are and what we do, and we get to learn about them, and we both get to see if we're a good fit for each other. And once they graduate, my goal was to hire students. So in addition to that, I enjoyed recruiting and finding the right people with the right skill sets to come work at ERDC. So after doing that for 5 years as branch chief, our ITL director, we had a new one, and he wanted to focus efforts in human capital initiatives. And so he asked me to come lead human capital initiatives for our laboratory. So I did that for a few years, and then this position opened up that I'm currently in. So I now am our directorate of human capital. And I am the ERDC Talent Acquisition Program Manager. And like Paul said, I am over our STEM outreach, our student programs, recruiting, and new hires and integration into the workforce. So I'm going to give you a bit of an ERDC overview. I'm not going to go into tons of detail because I want to get to the student programs for you, but I figured you want to know a little bit about who we are and what we do to understand and see, hey, do I want to go do an internship at a place like ERDC, and what do we do? So ERDC consists of 7 different laboratories. As you can see on the map, Vicksburg, Mississippi is where the headquarters is located. We're right there, basically in the central Mississippi, right on the Mississippi River. And so our headquarters is in Vicksburg, and then we have 4 laboratories that are located in Vicksburg. We have our Coastal and Hydraulics Laboratory. We have our Environmental Laboratory, our Geotechnical and Structures Laboratory, and our Information Technology Laboratory. So I've been fortunate to get to work in 2 of those laboratories. And then we have 3 laboratories located outside of Vicksburg. We have our Cold Regions Research and Engineering Lab in Hanover, New Hampshire, and we have our Geospatial Research Laboratory in Alexandria, Virginia, and then we have our Construction Engineering Research Laboratory located in Champaign, Illinois. So we have many different field offices that help us conduct field research at these different facilities that are very specialized to complement what we're doing here inside the laboratories. So we have our permafrost tunnel in Fox, Alaska. We have our field research facility. There's a few I'm going to point out in Duck, North Carolina. Those are 2 of our prominent ones. We also wanted to point out we have an ERDC International Research Office. So we have people that apply for a position there to go and be a liaison. And it's, on a limited term where you go and do that. But they work with our international partners out of that office. And we, collaborate on research together through that office. So, who is ERDC? We are a world-class research and development organization that discovers, develops, and delivers new ways to make the world safer and better every day. So that's pretty much our motto there. Let's see, go to our next slide. So what is ERDC's vision and mission? So it's all about making the world better and safer. So our vision is to be a world-class research and development partner, delivering solutions that aren't otherwise possible. And our mission is to discover, develop, and deliver trusted engineering and scientific solutions for the warfighter and nation. So a little bit about how we're structured. So ERDC is the research laboratory for the Army Corps of Engineers. So I know many of you have probably heard about the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. So we're the research lab. So USACE is a little bit more operational. When they come across problems or hard to solve problems, they reach out to us and say, hey, we're having a problem in this area. Can you help us solve this problem? So we go out and we do research. So USACE is our parent organization. We don't only work for USACE, we also work with a lot of other agencies, government agencies across the Department of Defense. So we are primarily civil works and military engineering are our two main focus areas. And I'll go into a little bit more detail about our core competencies. So a little bit about our history. How did ERDC become ERDC? So many years ago, the flood of 1927 was one of the most disastrous events in our nation's history. If you're not familiar, you can go look on a map in a bit, but we are located, as I said, on the Mississippi River. That flood was so large that it flooded from the banks of the Mississippi River here in Vicksburg, all the way across Louisiana to Monroe, Louisiana. So that's over 50 miles wide. So if you can just imagine the devastation that caused, that's how wide the river went. So it was very catastrophic and devastating. So they decided to the Corps of Engineers decided to put some engineers here in Vicksburg, Mississippi to headquarter, figuring out, how to keep floods from happening like this again, and to do research in flooding and became into rivers and then eventually coastal engineering. So that's how we kind of began. And then ERDC also had its start in where we the geotechnical and structures lab originated in helping develop portable airfields. So we also helped employ those airfields where we had the Normandy invasion. So we helped with things like that. And so moving on down into the 60s, we were, in the Cold War era. So we started doing research into cold regions, looking at how mobility, vehicles, different equipment reacts in extreme Arctic conditions. And so that's why one reason why we have our the research facility in Alaska and the research office there in Alaska, so that we can look into those things. So that developed our cold regions research engineering lab. That's kind of when we that laboratory started in the 60s there. And then we started looking at how do we maneuver across difficult terrain. So then the topographical engineering began, and we developed a topographical engineering center, and later became the Geospatial Research Laboratory in the late 60s there. Then we wanted to look at making our infrastructure more efficient, how we do our construction. So that began the era of developing a construction engineering research. And so that lab began around the 1968. And then starting moving into the 70s, we started thinking a little bit more about our environment and the impacts of what we do, how it affects our environment, how it affects the environment, and looking at infrastructure, invasive species, our waterways, how invasive species, affect the waterways, how do we navigate through those. So we developed our environmental research during that time, and that was the origin of the environmental laboratory. Moving into the 80s, that's kind of the computer age. So we started thinking about, numeric modeling and how do we save time and efforts on doing numerical models on supercomputers rather than having to go out, conduct multiple tests, spending a whole lot of money to do these tests, when we can do these simulations and numerical models on supercomputers. So here in Vicksburg, Mississippi, our information technology laboratory was developed in the 80s, and our first supercomputer was here. So we are also one of, I believe, one of 5 DoD high performance computing research centers, and that headquarters is really here in Vicksburg in our information technology lab. So 1998 is when ERDC really became established. We had all of these different laboratories operating independently, but we started working a lot together and having cross collaboration. So we decided to become one organization and became the Engineering Research and Development Center, and combined in 98. So a couple of years ago, we just had our 25th anniversary. And some of our milestone work, in 2001, we did research. We were already conducting research and helping with retrofitting the Pentagon when 9/11 occurred. So when the plane hit the Pentagon, we had already gone in and put in some protective materials to help protect the Pentagon. And it just so happens that's where the plane hit an area where we had already done some retrofitting. So it saved a whole lot of lives. It would have been way more catastrophic had we not already been retrofitting the Pentagon and the plane hit a different area. So, of course, they called us in to help with the reconstruction and finishing off retrofitting the Pentagon. So that was, there's actually a 60-minute episode on that. So if you all want to go Google that, that's a great way to learn about what we did during 9/11. Look for that 60 minutes of video where ERDC helped rebuild the Pentagon there. And then we have post-Katrina analysis. So when Katrina happened, Hurricane Katrina, we went in and looked at, built a lot of models. We did forensic studies on what failed, how could we prevent the failure in New Orleans of the flood walls, and how we could rebuild and make them stronger, to protect New Orleans better, which in doing so, we were building a lot of models, which helped us with future predictions of storm surges from hurricanes. So those models are still used today. So that's a really great success story there that we've helped with. So those models helped us with hurricane recovery. We also have our people go out and deploy and help clean up and mitigate some of that disaster that comes in from hurricanes. And then during COVID-19, we are the only government agency that actually had a COVID-19 model that showed like how that would predict how the disease would spread. So that was one of the things that we did, and that was used by the nation as well. In addition to that, we also developed some we developed some easily constructed fast hospital rooms so that we could house patients, because the hospitals were being overwhelmed with patients. So we had these portable buildings that we transformed into hospital rooms to take care of patients during COVID-19 as well. And then many of you may have heard and seen on the news about the Francis Scott Key Bridge, where the ship ran into the bridge and the bridge collapsed. So our coastal hydraulics laboratory, there we have a ship simulator. And so utilizing that ship simulator and the research that we do within our coastal hydraulics lab, we helped getting that the traffic flowing, being able to get all of our goods at that harbor and the ports, how we could get all that flowing again. We used our technology to locate where the debris from the bridge was in the water so that we can navigate around that. So that's another success story we had as well. So move on to our people. So that brings us to our people. We employ over 2,600 people here at ERDC, where 1,559 people are engineers and scientists. So they were focused on, our research. We also have people that have business degrees, accounting degrees. We have to have our support organization and people to help us run our research, help us to conduct our research and keep us up and running. So that other about 40% or so people are administrative positions. And like I said, business majors, accountings, we have communication teams. So we have all kinds of different career fields here at ERDC. We also, because we are a world-class research organization, we pride ourselves in our employees having advanced degrees. We also support our employees in getting advanced degrees. So over 1,000 have advanced degrees, and then over 450 have PhDs here at ERDC. So we have a large part of our workforce that are always continuing their education and seeking out those advanced degrees. So if you come to us and maybe have an undergraduate degree, we have a graduate institute here. So we actually support our people in getting their master's degree while they're working. And we also help pay for those degrees as well. So we have a great long-term training program where we send people off to get their PhD. You can choose any accredited university in the country to go get your PhD at. So you still get your salary, you get all your classes paid for, you get your expenses, some of your expenses paid for, like housing while you're gone. So it's a really, really great program. And I'll just direct your attention over to the pie chart where you can see we just have a multitude of different ENS technical career field. So primarily we have civil engineers, but looking at, we have our physical scientists, we have a lot of computer scientists, mechanical engineers, just about any type of engineer you can imagine we have working here at ERDC, all the way to mathematicians, computer engineers, even social scientists. So biologists, we have a lot of biologists, chemists working in our environmental labs. So a lot of different options as ENS here. And looking at our other chart over here to the left, it's our kind of our age distribution chart. As you can see, our workforce has greatly shifted to Gen Z and millennials. So most of the people working here now are between the ages of 25 and 30. We have a lot of younger generation here working at ERDC. So all of our baby boomers and traditionals are starting to retire, and we have our Gen X still here, which I fall into that category, but we have a very young workforce doing really cool stuff. And I'll talk to you just a moment about our core competencies. So just to understand the breadth and depth of our research, we do so many different cool things here at ERDC. We have lots of areas of research. Battle space, terrain mapping and characterization. We have blast and weapon effects on structures and geomaterials. Civil and military engineering, that's where we get a lot of our funds here to do research. We have our coastal river and environmental engineering. Again, our cold regions, science and engineering. And we do a lot of computational prototyping of military platforms and research with military installations and infrastructure. So the DoD and Army looks to us as the experts in these areas. So they come to us in these areas to help them solve problems, some of our nation's toughest problems. Okay, so now that I've told you a little bit about who we are and what we do, moving into our student programs. So our ERDC student programs are really great. We have a lot of different options for students to come work with us and participate in internships and fellowships. So our goal is to provide a real world experience to our students. I always say you're not here to make copies and get coffee for your boss. You are here, you're paired with a mentor who is going to teach you and show you how to do research and bring your skill sets that you're learning in the classroom to ERDC. We don't expect students to come here knowing how to do a lot of the stuff that we do. That's why you're here to do an internship. That's why you're going to have an experienced mentor to be partnered with and them to teach you. Students get to learn new technology when they come work with us during the summer. We not only do student internships during the summer, but we also can do them throughout the year. If you want to maybe do an internship for a fall semester or a spring semester, we can accommodate that. You can do school and do internship at the same time if you'd like to. So it just kind of depends where you are with your academic career, how flexible things are for mentors to allow you to maybe do school and internships at the same time. So lots of great opportunities. Our goal with our student programs is to ultimately hire you once you have graduated. I think there's no better way than to find out if you're a good fit for us and we're a good fit for you than by doing an internship. It's also great for your resume. So let's see. So just to give you an idea about how many students we typically have, last summer was our record summer. We had 544 students across all 7 of our laboratories working here at ERDC. That was by far our largest student cohort, as you will. This year it was down a little. We had some funding cuts, and because of the hiring freeze, we couldn't hire students in federal student positions. But we still brought on new students in our other programs that weren't considered federal employees. We were allowed to bring on students who had already been working and bring them back to return to an internship. So our numbers were down this year to 369. As the hiring freeze gets lifted through the federal government, I expect those numbers to go right back up. As you can see, over the last 5 years, we've had over a 21% growth in our student programs. I mean, each year our student programs were just getting larger each year. So even during COVID, we had 304 students. That's a pretty large number. And then as things got lifted, we moved up to 387, then the 454, and then 544. So we have done a really good job with our student programs. We enjoy having students to come work for us. And as you can see, our map here shows all these little location dots show we have students all over the country coming to work for us, not just in our local area or just in the South. They're from all over the country. So we have a lot of students from a lot of different universities. This year we had 112 from 18 of the top 50 national and 109 from 19 of the top 50 engineering schools. So we're reaching out to all the schools to bring students in. We don't just focus on certain schools. So those schools that we do have educational partnership agreements, we like to keep that relationship strong so that we can build those student pipelines that bring students in and then ultimately leads to hiring them. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about specific student programs. So we have for our federal student employment programs, these at the top in the blue area are STEM Student Employment Program. So that's a science, technology, engineering, and mathematics student employment program. That's our most popular, I would say, our best program for students. As you are a student trainee, you're a federal employee, you're considered a federal employee. You start earning government service time benefits such as leave, like being able to take off to go on vacations, to be able to have sick leave, time off for when you're sick. So you start building all that as a student here. So that program is what we call a DHA, or a direct hire authority program. Direct hire authority means it's very simple to hire you in as a student. All we need is a resume and a transcript, and we can initiate a hiring action, and then a willing mentor to hire you. So if you're interested in that, you can scan the QR code that's on the screen. That will take you to our talent acquisition recruitment program, where it's a repository for students to collect resumes, and for those who are graduating and looking to be hired. You register with us at that link. You can upload your resume and transcript there and tell us a little bit about, what type of position you're looking for, and maybe the geographic location. So if one of our 7 laboratories, is appealing to you, you can add in there the location that you are interested in. So those are for STEM students. We also, for those who are not STEM majors, who are maybe business majors, or something that falls within our administrative areas, we have the professional administrative assistant, clerical, and technician student employment program. That's a lot of words. It's a long acronym, and it's called the PACT-SEP student program. So that one is also a DHA. So all we have to have is a resume and a transcript and a willing mentor to hire you. You can send your resumes to erdicrecruitment@usace.army.mil. I recommend you sending an email there telling a little bit about yourself. I always recommend having a cover letter along with your resume and transcript, and then also registering with us in that talent acquisition portal. So those are two. I always say do both just to cover all your bases. Once you are in our portal and our repository, all hiring managers at ERDC have access to review your resume and transcript, not only at ERDC, but also across USAE. So the Corps of Engineers is very large. We have districts and divisions located all over the country. So there are opportunities there as well. So those hiring managers can also see you, and once you put your information in that portal. There's also Pathways Student Program. That one requires you to register and have an open announcement on usajobs.gov. We don't utilize that program as much anymore because it's so much easier to utilize our direct hire authority programs. But the Pathways program, you can always check to see if ERDC has any open announcements out there that you can apply to. You have back to our hiring managers to review and select from that list. All of these programs I'm talking about, they all require you to have at least a 2.5 GPA. You have to maintain a 2.5 or else you would become ineligible and would not be asked back. You have to have above a 3. We do prefer above a 3.0 GPA. And just so you know, because we are a world-class organization, we're looking for those higher GPAs, but it doesn't mean you have to always have that higher GPA. I would say a target GPA that many of our researchers look for is a 3.5. But really anything above a 3.0 is desirable for us. Also, for these programs, you must be a U.S. citizen. That's U.S. citizenship is required for these. So now talk about our scholarship for service programs. And I will say that some of these programs aren't only at ERDC, but they're at other government agencies also. So the SMART scholarship program, that one to me is just the best. You basically get paid to go to school. You get all of your school tuition paid for. You get full tuition. You get book and health allowance through that program. You get an annual stipend, which means you get paid while you're in school. You're guaranteed a summer internship. You receive an experienced mentor during your internships, and then you have a job once you graduate. It's a one-to-one, as it talks about a scholarship for service. So you must, for however many years you receive the scholarship, you must work for the government. So it's a one-to-one ratio. So let's say you got the award for 2 years, you must work for the government for 2 years. And through the SMART program, if an agency like, let's say ERDC, the Information Technology Laboratory selects you, you must work for the Information Technology Laboratory. You can't go work for a different agency. You have to do your service obligation with the agency that selects you. That portal is open now for applications. So if this is something you're interested in, I advise you to go to the smartscholarship.org website and look at the information on their site. You can apply through their site. The portal opened on August 1st and will close on December 1st. I'm sorry, December 5th. Every year, the portal opens on August 1st and closes the first Friday in December. So that's something that you can target if that's something you're interested in. Then there's the Cyber Corps Scholarship for Service program. We utilize that program. However, to participate in that program, you must be attending a university that does participate in that Cyber Corps Scholarship for Service. They must have a grant, and there must be a faculty member that's over that grant and runs that grant. And you would apply through that school, through your school, to work, to participate in that program. So you get the same benefits, you get full tuition, annual stipend, summer internships and guaranteed government employment afterwards. The responsibility is a little bit more on students there, where you must help find your own internship and you must find your own employment. Now, you can do multiple internships with multiple different agencies, and then you can also go work for any DoD agency. So it's a little bit different, because if SMART selects you, if a certain agency selects you in SMART, you have to do your internships and work for that agency. Cyber Corps Scholarship Service, you can choose what agency you want to go to. There's a big career fair each year for that's open to the government, and so we all go to that career fair and meet these students, and we're all trying to get those students to come work for us. So if you are doing cybersecurity, even a cybersecurity certificate or just a certain number of hours, it doesn't have to be a cybersecurity degree. So look into that program if that's something you're interested in. So then we have what we call our internship programs and fellowships. So these are research experience, educational experiences where students get paid a stipend, an educational stipend. So you're not considered a government employee, and you're not really an employee. You're participating in an educational experience through these programs. So AEOP, which is Army Educational Outreach Program, that is a big one that we use a lot. Those are open to high school through postdoc. So the great thing about AEOP is that you can graduate and still do an internship through these programs. So you have up to 60 months, so basically up to 5 years, to participate in an internship or fellowship after you graduate, to kind of see, what you want to do. Is that a good agency that you might want to go and actually work for full time? So you can do that while you're in school, but you can also do it up to 60 months after you graduate. So it's a really great program. We post opportunities through their site. So you would go to their website to apply. Typically, those opportunities open up for the summer internships, maybe in December, but sometimes it's not until January until that program posts them. So be sure to check in January to see what opportunities are listed there for ERDC. Typically, each of our labs will post out opportunities. So you would just apply in general for a particular lab. You can apply for multiple labs if you want to during your application there. So ORISE, which is the next one, Oak Ridge Institute for Science and Engineering. That program is very similar to AEOP. It's also an internship fellowship program. You receive a monthly stipend for your experience. They also offer post-baccalaureate and postdoctoral internships, so you can do them from high school through postdoc. You can also do the postdoc and baccalaureate up to 60 months after you graduate. So again, if you want to participate in a research experience to see, like, if an agency that you apply for is what you like, we have lots of opportunities out there. So that's a great way to try it, get some experience under your belt before you get a full-time position. Let's see. Those opportunities, there's typically opportunities posted year-round for ORISE. What you would do is go to their website, and if you're specifically interested in ERDC, you can type in a keyword ERDC, and it will pull up all open opportunities for you to apply for. You can apply for multiple. If you see multiple that you're interested in, you can apply for multiple. And then what happens is a list comes back to those mentors who put out those statements of work opportunities. So something you're interested in, be sure to go check that out. The National Science Foundation Mathematical Sciences Graduate Internship Program. Those are for students who are pursuing PhDs in a mathematical science area. Those students are fully funded through the National Science Foundation, and so those students are actually free to us. What we do in order to participate is we put statements of work out there through that program, and students apply to those statements of work. And then we'll receive a list back and select students from that list. I don't believe they were funded the last 2 years. I'm hopeful that they're funded in the future, but that's a program that we've used a lot in the past because we're always looking for great, mathematicians, statisticians, anything in those mathematical sciences areas. Last, we have a high performance computing internship program. Through our information technology laboratory. And the purpose of this internship program is to expose students to high performance computing. So you don't have to come into this internship knowing how to do high performance computing. You don't even have to know about high performance computing. You just need to have an interest, because what their goal is to build future computational scientists and offer the experience and opportunity for students to learn more about what high performance computing is about. So that is a summertime program only. It's a 10-week program, and typically it opens their applications in November. So you would go to the ORISE website that I mentioned on the previous slide to look for these opportunities. You can type in HPCMP, and these internship opportunities will show up for you. So the next slide. So you have to be 18 years old at the time of the application. You do have to be majoring in a STEM discipline. You have to be a full-time student or recent graduate. Your minimum GPA is a 3.0 for this one. And you do receive a monthly stipend. They will provide you money to travel to and from our facilities. And they do provide funding for housing. So that's a really great opportunity is to come here, and you're going to have your travel paid for, and you're going to have your housing paid for, in addition to a monthly stipend for participating in this program. Let's see. You will be required to do a research paper and an oral report in this program. And some of the other programs may require that as well. I think AEOP requires that to close out their internships as well. So these internships can be between May and August and 10 weeks. And then again, they're going to open. Last year it was early November, so I'm assuming this year it's going to be early November again. It's typically the same time frame. So if you're interested in an internship for high performance computing, be sure to go check that out. So why should you choose ERDC? The benefits of choosing ERDC is we have really great competitive salaries. We're not on the typical GS schedule here that you might hear about. If you don't know about that, you can go learn about the GS schedule and pay at opm.gov. Anything you want to know about working for the federal government, go to opm.gov. So we have really competitive salaries. We have the ability, because we're in a lab demonstration, we can go across multiple GS scales to pay our students and our employees. So we have really competitive salaries compared to private industry. We have wonderful benefits such as health, dental, vision, and life insurance. We have 11 paid federal holidays every year. Just about every month you have a paid holiday. I think there's only maybe 1 or 2 months that we don't have a federal holiday in that month. We have vacation and sick time off benefits. So as the longer you work here, the more annual leave or vacation time you build up. Sick leave, you get 4 hours every pay period. So we get paid every 2 weeks here as a federal employee. We have lots of incentive awards. You are recognized for the good work you do. We have ERDC awards. We have even on-the-spot awards where you're caught doing something good. We can give you a cash bonus. There are lots of opportunities to advance and move up. As you can see, I started here as a student. Then I was a contractor, Then I became a researcher. I also became a branch chief, which was supervising 30-something people. And now I'm working up in our headquarters office, leading efforts for all of ERDC. So there's a lot of opportunities to advance and move around and move up the chain here at ERDC. Another great new benefit that we have is paid parental leave. So that's for males and females. So fathers can take parental leave and the mothers can take parental leave. So it's really a great benefit there. I believe you have 12 weeks of paid parental leave that you can use in conjunction with your vacation or sick leave. And you have up to a year to use all of that paid parental leave. So if you wanted to be off for, let's say, 8 weeks with your new baby, you have 4 weeks left where you can save that and use it for when your baby's sick or take them to doctor appointments. It's such a great benefit. And we have a wonderful retirement plan. We have something called the Thrift Savings Plan, where you're contributing, and we do agency matches into that. So that helps supplement your actual retirement benefits from the federal government. So wonderful benefits working here. Okay, and that is all I have today. And now I'm going to open it up for questions for everyone.
Yeah, we invite all students to use the chat function if you have questions for Mrs. Montgomery. I had one. You mentioned internships were available in the fall, spring, or summer. Are there any virtual opportunities, or are any of the internships virtual?
Well, I would say it's all dependent on the research, the project, and the mentor. A lot of times they do want students to come and work here in person before they would allow, say, a virtual internship. I'm not gonna say it's not possible, but since we all of our employees now under the new administration are required to work on site, there's not as many virtual options, but there could be some options for students to do that. The other thing that we have done that I'll point out is I even did this way back when, but students who want to get course credit for doing an internship, we can allow that as well. We do those types of things. We've helped some students say, hey, I just have to have so many hours in an internship in this particular area. I don't need to get paid. I just need to do this internship for so many weeks or so many hours, and we've accommodated that too. So lots of great opportunities with that.
Okay, Speller, there's a question. If I participate during the school year, how flexible are project assignments and schedules for balancing coursework and research responsibilities?
Okay, so good question. We, of course, school is your priority. We know that's your priority, and we are very flexible and will work around school schedules as much as possible. What does this, let's see. So I see the next question about international students. So ORISE does allow, the ORISE student program does allow for international students to work. So go check that out. And we are able to bring some international students in through ORISE. Let's see, a work schedule at first take class. Students. So in the summertime, we do have some students that end up needing to take a summer course. We're very open to that as well. So again, we just kind of, that's something that the student and the mentor talk about, communicate, and they work out an amenable schedule together. Okay, here's a good question. In regards to applications and resume, what would you recommend a student to do with not much experience in the field their program is involved in? I always tell students who are submitting a resume to the federal government, um, you don't have to limit to 1 page. 2 pages is okay. I always say put as much information as you can down. Put your hobbies. If you're into music, play musical instruments. If you're a student athlete, all of those things have good qualities about them and skill sets that we can infer from and say, oh, this person's going to would make a good student. Even though they don't have a lot of work experience, they did these extracurricular activities, or even your volunteer, anything that you volunteer to do outside of school. All of those volunteer experiences, all of those things are good things to put on your resume. Also, some students will say, oh, well, I just, waited tables. That's great. Put that on there because you've got to have some great interpersonal skills to deal with people. So it's, you have to think quickly on your feet. There's a lot of things that we can infer from those types of jobs. So I say put all the information that you can about yourself and things that you've experienced on your resume. Let's see, have I missed any questions?
Taylor, are you able to, we have your slide deck. There's a question if, will students, is it okay if we share your slide deck with students?
Absolutely. We can, yeah, and we'll send that out as a PDF. We can convert that over to a PDF and send out that way. It's not so large, and share. Yeah, it's okay to share my presentation.
Thank you. I noticed Dr. Pearson has her hand raised. Do you want to make some comments, Dr. Pearson?
I'd actually like to ask a question if that's okay.
Sure.
And thank you all so much again for doing this. I had someone ask me just this week, so I would love to ask you, Mrs. Montgomery. You just talked about the content of the resume, which is extremely important and the most important thing. But
Yeah.
someone asked me a question about the style and format of the resume. A lot of people are using tools like Canva to try to create more creative looking resumes to stand out from the crowd. Is there any guidance you would have regarding something like that versus a, typical Word resume?
I think those are interesting. And I think it's okay to use those tools. I will say, if you are creating a resume to maybe apply for a full-time federal position, be careful about those because sometimes they will not accept a resume if it has a photograph on it. And I also will say, don't include PII, don't include personal identifying information. I would say always remove those things if you're looking for a federal position. I think, for example, if you're applying for a job on USA Jobs, if you submit a resume that has a photograph on there or some other specific information, they will just automatically throw your resume out. So be careful about that. In some cases, it's good, but I think when you're dealing with the government, they have to look at biases, and so they don't want photographs on those. And it's another agency that actually looks at those and says whether they're eligible to move through to be on the list. And so sometimes we won't even see those. We won't even know someone got kicked out basically of the off the list for things like that. So I would say be sure to read application requirements, especially if you're applying for the federal government. If it's on USA Jobs, they're going to have a whole lot of details that you have to be detail oriented. Be sure to read those details and pay attention to those to make sure you're not putting anything on your resume or application that would make you ineligible.
Thank you for that.
Okay. So here's a question. If we receive SMART scholarship, is it required to continue receiving it until we finish school? Yes. So it is required. You must be in school full time. That is one requirement of the SMART Scholarship Award. You have to be attending school full time, and you must complete a degree. And I will say this, something I didn't mention earlier. If you aren't compliant with the award, you will sign an agreement with the SMART Scholarship in receiving the award. If you're not compliant, they will come back after you to pay back your scholarship, pay back all money that they paid to you. So be sure that you read the details on those applications and all about the SMART Scholarship to know what you're signing up for. Because they will hold you accountable. We've had people that that fell below full-time enrollment and they were dismissed from the program, which we don't have any control over that. That is controlled completely by the SMART Program Office. And they said, I'm sorry, they're no longer eligible. We dismissed them from the program and now they're going to have to pay back all the money that we paid them. So be careful and know what you're signing up for on that. Let's see. So I had someone ask, are there any virtual or hybrid opportunities? It's possible. I would say the best experiences are for internships are to actually come to our site and do an internship. In many cases, some mentors won't have a student do anything virtual until you've had an established relationship. You've been here, had on-site experience, and then later there could be opportunities for virtual or opportunities for hybrid, but it's going to be completely dependent on the research, the project, and the supervisor and mentor on that project work. Let's see.
Okay. That appears to be all the questions that we have for you, Speller. What an amazing just group of opportunities that you provide for students at so many levels. So thank you so much for your time today and sharing this great information with our students. I see your email is posted there. Are you okay with students sending information or asking questions?
Sure.
Okay, you might regret that. We had a 90 people attend today. So thank you again so much. We really, really appreciate your time today and sharing this information. Everybody
Okay.
have a great day.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.